Welcome to BP Rising, everybody, the #1 day trading community. Today I'm going to be breaking down a very bizarre situation. It's ticker symbol ZN, Zion Oil and Gas. Supposedly, this is an oil company that is drilling out in Israel. They utilize prayer, religion, God to bring in investors to put money into the company on what appears to be false hope. I mean, there's been no revenue since inception. I think the company's been around about 20 years. They haven't found a thing. They haven't made any money. They're just basically leeching off of investor funds for all of this time, and nothing is happening. So I wanted to go through some things that I found very interesting. I want to start here with the chart. You can see that recently the stock blasted up on basically news that they supposedly found some sign of oil down at the bottom of the well, and they've got to continue drilling, and they're not sure if it's going to be something that can be turned into dollars. And of course, they're not going to know for a while. That they will find out till April or May or something along those lines. Dragging it out without giving anybody any definitive answers about what's going on. Typical type of strategy that to drag out investors with hope that something is going to come of it. And of course, they've been doing this for, I guess, 20 years now, which is insane. And yet people are still investing and putting money into this company. Truly bizarre. But yeah, so this is the chart. You can see that it's been holding 4 support, and it's been, pushed up to the 5 area, and you can see it's been trying to stay above 5. We'll get into that, more about that in a little while. But let's start out. I want to go over a few things. First, I was looking at the 10K, and I went right into risk factors because it's always good to read that section. And right here you can see that our ability to continue a business depends upon our continued ability to obtain the necessary financing from external sources to undertake further exploration, etc., etc. We incurred big losses, basically. Audited financial statements raises substantial doubt about us being able to continue as a going concern unless we're able to raise additional capital. So you can see that they have a big motivation to continue to raise capital. They definitely focus a lot on this, which is always a red flag. All right, now if you go, if I can find it here, buried in this bunch of gibberish, which is how they like it, so you can't find a thing. Let's see if we can find the revenues. I'm sure they don't want us to find them. They're in here somewhere. If I was them, I would probably hide them as well. Oh, no, that's not it. Here we go. Okay, so here's the bottom line. I mean, here's the real. The company, this is just showing since 2013, but basically I believe the stock started trading in 2007. I think the company might have been started around 2000, which is almost 20 years ago. And you can see that there are absolutely zero revenues every single year. I mean, come on. There's nothing. And when you go down, you can see net losses. They just keep increasing. I mean, here's 2015, 7 million, 8 million, 9 million. The net losses just keep increasing, and there's absolutely no revenues. Nothing's changed over like 20 years, which is ridiculous. You come through. Let's see what else we can find here, buried in here. We're gonna get into these warrants they have. Just craziness with these warrants. I mean, looking through this, it looks to me like they're just basically milking investors, and they're just banking for themselves. I mean, the executives, employees, it just looks like it's all designed to line their pockets. And I'm going to get into why that is here in a little bit. Let's see. Current assets. See, they've got a accumulated deficit of $160 million from 150 to 160 million. Net loss again just increasing every single year. yeah, so that's the main points I wanted to show you guys. Let's go in here to the institutional holdings. Looks like according to Nasdaq here that about 6% is institutional. You can see Vanguard Group owns a majority of shares at 1.6. Always good to take a look at this information and get an idea of who benefits from this. Here the insider. These are the executives. John Brown, he was the founder. Victor Carrillo, he's the current CEO. So you can see the shares they have. We'll get into Victor in a little bit. All right, let's go here to, yeah, this is basically the warrants. They keep offering warrants, and they keep making amendments to the forms as well. You can see that basically as of, I believe it was January 8th, they had warrants that were exercisable at $1 a share. So the stock's currently around the 5 area. Also, they have, I believe, in another amendment that there are some warrants exercisable at $5 a share as well. And that was as of February 28th of this year. So about 3 weeks ago, those $5 warrants became exercisable. And it's convenient because the stock seems to be holding up right around that $5 area, which is definitely a red flag, and it makes you highly curious as to why it is that that stock is so conveniently held up in that 5 range. You can see that if the company holds the stock at $5 for 15 consecutive days, at any time prior to warrant expiration, Zion can provide notice to the warrant holders that early termination within 60 days notice. So I'm curious to see if this it's been up for about 3 days in a row at $5. So if this thing stays above 5 for another several days till about March 31st, then it's going to be very interesting to see if that happens. Now, I found some YouTube videos, just bizarre stuff. I mean, here's a guy, he put this, Zion oil and gas scam, John Brown exposed. Here's a guy that goes in depth in this whole video about how this whole thing's a fraud, and obviously I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's 13 minutes. But anyway, I'll let you guys watch it. But he gets into the warrants and everything, and basically how shady this whole situation is. Obviously, you can watch this if you want to. But here's another guy. I mean, this is just some bizarre stuff. I've never seen anything like this. Here's a guy. I just let you listen to this guy for a second. All right, I think that's enough. Look, bottom line is this: is it's great to have a Christian company. Nothing wrong with that. Chick-fil-A is an amazing company, privately run, and it's based on Christianity. It's a great company. There's nothing wrong with that. If you believe in God, if you're religious, awesome. The thing is that this is just sketchy. I mean, you can tell just listen to this guy. Just red flags start coming up. I mean, my BS detector just starts screaming. Uh, and anybody that's trying to use religion and God to try to claim, monetary gain, get you to invest in an oil company, just something's not right. I mean, something's shady there. I mean, I'm sorry. So this is the type of character that are out kind of pushing this company and pushing people to invest in the stock. You just have to. I mean, look at this. I know it's in Israel, but I mean, give me a break, man. This is just nuts. And look here, you got Seeking Alpha, Zion Oil and Gas drilling dry holes till zero. Will bankruptcy court or extreme dilution get them there first? Suspicious trading patterns highlighted, running out of cash, a going concern notice, high CFO turnover, bad science, insider enrichment, clearly, and I'm going to show you that in detail in a little while. There's just so many signs, and it's amazing that nothing is done to stop this. It's gone on for 20 years, and investors are being sucked into this joke, basically, is what it is. And you got lawsuits here, potential breaches of fiduciary duty by its board of directors, of course, definitely seems likely. Now, the current CEO of Zion is a guy named Victor Carrillo. And I found out something interesting, that this guy was actually, if you go through here, he was the director at Magnum Hunter Resources from 2011 to 2016. Well, I found out that Magnum Hunter Resources went bankrupt. They filed for bankruptcy, and they changed the name of the company basically to try to bury it. So the current CEO of Zion Oil and Gas left a bankrupt company, Magnum Hunter Resources. They changed the name, I think, a few times, and it's something else now. But that's if that's not a red flag, I don't know what is. So the current CEO is coming from bankruptcy. Here it is, Magnum Hunter rebranding, changes name. Magnum Hunter, which emerged from bankruptcy, may under a new structure and leadership has changed its name to Blue Ridge Mountain Resources. So now it's Blue Ridge Mountain Resources. This is suspect right here. Definitely something that's a red flag right there. Here it is again, Magnum Hunter changes name, leaves a bankrupt past behind. Fires Chapter 11. And here's an example of a PR that they put out. Just want you to see how this stuff sounds. Talking about drilling in a well. It looks to me like they're just putting out just enough to give investors hope, to continue the sham, to continue to keep them hoping, to keep them in the stock, keep them investing in the stock, and while they just pocket and just bank and line their own pockets. I mean, that's what this looks like to me. That's what my gut instinct is telling me. The log appears to confirm what we know from seeing oil mixed with mud, that we encountered live oil in the deep portion of the well. We still await a full interpretation of the image log obtained in our last login run for fracture location intensity. Our interpretation, supported by third party, shows multiple oil exhibiting. Let's see. We cannot comment on the well's capacity for commercial production until after we conduct and analyze our well testing protocol, which we anticipate to take place in April. See, they drag you out to April, see. So they can try to keep you hope, keep the stock moving, exercise these warrants, bank on the stock itself, not on the company itself, no revenues, nothing actually coming in, but they're definitely banking on the stock itself. We will endeavor to provide further updates as material information becomes available. Yeah, drag you on, keep you hoping, keep updates coming in. Just keep the sham going, basically. And you can see they threw in a couple great quotes here. Psalm, they put that in there. And okay, let's go to the next one here. Here are these warrants. They've got all these different names for these different warrants that are exercisable, different prices through different dates. I mean, this is actually a warrant page under Invest. All right, where you can send in that, you can mail in a check to exercise your warrants here. I mean, I'm gonna look at this. Dollar through August 14, 2020. I mean, it's insane. There's Victor, the CEO. A little video. You know, they got to keep it looking legit. They got to provide videos. They got to have some stuff. Otherwise, people aren't going to buy in, you know. But I've seen, you know, some of the best scammers, you know, the stuff appears to be most legitimate. Just look at Bernie Madoff. He's a perfect example. That guy would seem 100% legit. People trusted him to the core, and the guy ended up losing billions of dollars. So it doesn't matter if it appears legit or not. You've got to look at the fine print. You've got to look, you know, deep down to find these scams. A lot of times these scams can go on for years and nobody knows. I mean, if for those of you who've seen the movie The Big Short, you know, we know from the mortgage crisis, we know that for the longest time, the banks were hiding and trying to protect the fact that the bonds were going to zero and that they were rated AAA and that they had AAA ratings, and the ratings agencies were holding it up as a favor when they were becoming worthless. So we know that, you know, it might be a scam, but that doesn't mean it can't get dragged on. It doesn't mean that people aren't gonna catch it for a while, and this thing's been going on forever. Okay, now this is something I found really, really interesting. I was looking through here at the compensation for these executives. Now, I want everyone to keep in mind, there are zero revenues. There have been zero revenues since the company's inception, about 20 years, and not a dime has been made. However, with that the case, obviously investors have put in big money, and let's take a look at what these executives for bringing in $0 are getting compensated. Okay, here's John Brown. That's the guy that founded this thing. Here you go, right here. Okay, executive compensation. John Brown, executive chairman. You can see 2014. This is started in 2014. His total compensation for 2014, 460 grand. This guy pulled in. I mean, no wonder he wants to keep this thing going, because it doesn't matter if they bring in any money. He's making 460 grand a year. Okay? 2015, 418,000. 2016, $574,000 he made for an oil well that's producing $0. I mean, these guys are lining their own pockets, and why would you not keep this going when you're making this money every year? They're going to drag this out as long as they possibly can when they're making this kind of money. Here's Victor Carrillo, the current CEO, the guy that basically the company went bankrupt. I was just recently talking about that came over here to another bankrupt company, basically. And, you know, he's pulling in 360 grand. I mean, when you're trying to build a company, you don't bring in, if you're really trying to build a company and do what's best for investors, you're not going to take in such big salaries for yourself. You know, you got to bring in something to live, right? If you're trying to build a company, but I mean, you're going to keep it, you can keep it down to 50, 60 grand. That's enough to live. This is outrageous. I mean, look at the money these guys are pulling in for their salary. This is insane for bringing in no revenue at all. Here's a chief financial officer. This guy's banking 350K. 2015, 440K. 2000. This is coming from investor money. There's nothing else paying these salaries. They're just milking it. Dustin Gwynn, executive vice chairman, 324 grand in 2016. This chief financial, 236 grand. Glenn Perry, COO, 320,000. I mean, these guys are pulling in serious cash every year, living the life, and investors aren't getting a dime back. Now, when you look in here, it gets really crazy. I mean, when you start looking in, and then that's not. I mean, we're talking about these options, these warrants, making money on the stocks. Look down here. I mean, this is just where it just gets really crazy. Office allowance of 24 grand. Payment of unused vacation expenses, 13 grand. Cell phone expense, 2,835. What kind of cell phone is this guy using? Cell phone expenses, 1,300. Professional dues. Run down here again. Automobile lease, 10 grand. Okay. Mr. Carrillo, leased automobile costs 78 grand. 7,800, sorry. 3,900, 12,000, 12,000, 11,000, 17,000. I mean, it just it goes on and on. All right. Here you go. Let's see, granted fair value option. Stock option plans. I mean, nobody's making money. None of the investors are getting paid anything, getting anything back. But these executives are banking serious cash every year, and from these stock options, and these guys are banking some serious cash, and they're going to keep this thing going as long as they can. And I just have this feeling, my gut's just telling me that all this stuff about this oil, I just watch. They're going to drag this on until about April or so, as long as they can, and then it's going to turn out that it's baloney. There's going to be, nothing's going to come of it. Regardless of if they found any baloney, there's still nothing's going to happen. Just watch. And it's going to be, they're going to drag it out as long as they possibly can to keep people hoping. And even if they did find something, there's no guarantee it would ever commercialize. I just think that the scam's going to keep on going as long as people let it. Yeah, so I mean, you could go through here and read in detail, but the salaries are insane for a company bringing no money. And I think you guys can get a pretty good idea of what's going on here. I don't think I need to go into any further than just that right there. Okay, so yeah, just to put it in perspective here, it's got a market cap currently of $267 million. So this company is supposedly valued at $260 million with zero revenues. The company's worth zero, basically. The company's worth zero. It's got a $267 million market cap. Executives are banking, they're lying in their pockets. This thing's got a market cap of 200. Give me a break. I mean, this is just ridiculous. It just ticks me off. I was looking up some red flags of oil scams, and I just found the 10 things, and it was interesting. Fraudulent sales techniques, email promotions, unsolicited materials, once in a lifetime opportunities. Finding oil in Israel, once in a lifetime opportunity, right? That's what that sounds like. High rate of return. Sales pitches focused on highly publicized news. Well, they've been putting out, kind of highly publicized news, right? This big deal about Israel and, using the Bible and God and all this stuff. Can't miss wells, right? Which is kind of what they're trying to pitch. Says that's likely a fraudulent claim. Confidential opportunities. Your questions are not answered. Outrageous fees. Lofty promises. I mean, obviously these are lofty promises, to say the least. And another thing it says is that right here, especially because of major oil and gas companies drilling nearby, it's likely a fraudulent claim. That's exactly what Zion is claiming, is that there's some other big companies that have found oil in the area. That's exactly how this sounds. Okay? Exactly how this sounds. Right there, number 6. Can't miss wells. All right. Now, I've also found some really crazy stuff. I mean, I've never seen so many posts like this. I mean, look at this. This is Zion Oil and Gas Facebook. Look at what this guy says. Every night before bed, I light my candle and say a prayer. Dear Lord, I bought shorted shares at $6.90, and I'm still holding because I know with your strength, we will prevail and exceed the 2009 highs in the 17s. Just like when you turned water into wine, you will turn many short sellers into food stamp recipients. I know that SEC filings mean nothing over the word of the Lord. Amen. This guy is praying that eventually truth and a short squeeze will prevail. Hopefully the Lord intervenes and shuts off the internet of all short sellers on the day of the squeeze, and none of them are able to get out of their position. And as a result, they have a forced margin call of over 1,000%, preferably a margin call of 10,000%. But I learned not to be greedy, as greed is often a sign of sin. Is this hilarious? This guy's sitting here praying to squeeze shorts and crush them, cause them to lose serious money, and this is supposed to be a godly thing to do right here. Oh man, that just kills me. It's just too funny. But there's stuff like this all through here. It's unreal. It's truly the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Let me see if I can find another good one. I know there's a few more here. Let's see. I mean, they've really done a number on these people. They've really got these people suckered in. It's unreal. Over 50 years ago, God gave me a prophecy that oil would be found in Israel. I pray for good news soon. My wife and I have invested with Zion from the first stock offering in 2006. We are at the age now that one more dry hole would be a crushing blow. We stand on faith, and I pray crazy prayers to my Lord and Savior that this truly is His plan for Israel. Look, again, I just want to say I'm not knocking anybody who believes in God. I'm not knocking anybody who has faith. I think that's awesome. It's not about that. It's about that these poor people are so naive and gullible. They're getting sucked into this scam. I mean, and they really believe. I mean, they really believe in this company. And I mean, and anybody who preys on people like this through religion, that's just a nasty thing to do. I mean, that's just the lowest of the low, in my opinion. I mean, these aren't people that have a lot of money. These are just your everyday people. These aren't big investors that can afford to lose a bunch of money. This is people's college funds. This is people's life savings, that they're putting out at stake here for this. There's no, anyway, that's enough. That's enough. I can't take any more of this, honestly. But yeah, that's the situation. So basically, in my opinion, this thing is a total hustle. It's been dragged on for so long, and I believe this company is eventually going to go to zero. I'm amazed it's lasted this long, but people really believe in this stuff. So they're really buying into it, and I think these execs are lining their own pockets, absolutely. They're dragging this thing out as long as possible, and in the end, I do not believe anything is going to come out of it, period. I think it's going to go to zero. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take for people to become aware and to wake up to the nonsense. When you can see there's a sucker born every day, and this has got people sucked in big time. I've never seen anything like it. There's a lot of oil and gas scams out there. I've seen them on American Greed. Would not be the first. So, yeah. So anyway, that's enough information to get the point. I'm gonna go back into the chart. Um, like I said, I've looked through all the filings, the Form 424B5. I've looked through at all the warrants, and I got to tell you, it's super suspect how these warrants are, in February 28th were exercisable at around $5, and this thing just happens to keep creeping upward and staying in the 5 range. I mean, it just makes you wonder who is moving this thing. I mean, it's do they have, some friends with big money that are making this thing move up, ticking it up? They have people, operating some boiler rooms that are making phone calls, blowing this up, sending out email campaigns, pumping this thing up. But you can see that. Keep an eye on this. See if this thing stays above that 5 through about the next few weeks. And I have a really good feeling that if somebody decided to look into this closer and checked the trading patterns and found out who's buying this thing, they're liable to find something very interesting. They're liable to find a total fraud, in my opinion. And And it'd be nice to have somebody check it out and stop this if it's the case, because this big money has been pouring into this thing over many years, and a lot of people are going to lose money if it turns out to be a fraud. All right. That's it for now. I'm going to keep an eye on this thing, and I'm going to see what this does. But if you have any questions, as always, feel free to email me, bprising1@gmail.com. And if you're interested in learning about how I trade stocks and get my stock alerts, please subscribe, at bprising.com and join our trading room. We'd love to have you. And until the next video, I really do appreciate everybody watching. Thanks so much, and have a great one. Thanks.